Hey, fellow TACT members and Linda. This is Holly, and I am going to give you guys a little bio on Lana. Linda has Lana's 4 feet right now, and she'll be dissecting them really soon. She said it would be nice if we had a little bio on Lana. She's the first TACT horse that was in TACT for several years. Whose feet were donated to Linda to explore. So I thought that would be fun too, to share a little bit about Lana's life and how important she was in the development of TACT. I feel that was part of her life's purpose. So just like Valor is for Linda. So Lana came to me when she was 3. She's a paint. She was 26 when she passed away, so I had her for 23 years with me. She had one other owner before she came to me. She was born out west in the western part of United States, on the border of Wyoming and Montana and North Dakota. And she came to me because my trainer at the time, or the barn I took lessons at, the owner of the barn would buy these horses every year from our now mutual friend as little 3-year-old babies, and she'd bring them back and train them because they made really good all-around horses, and were especially good for the sport of eventing, which consists of 3 different disciplines: dressage, jumping, and cross-country jumping. And you go over obstacles on the cross-country course, like ditches, and you go through water. And Lana and one of my favorite things to do with her was to go do a real-life cross-country course and find anything out in the land we could gallop over or around. She and I galloped thousands of miles together. We went on trips out in 3 different states. We trail rode for many, many years. We did dressage, we jumped, we did a little bit of cross country. And so I'll show you a little bit about her and her history. And let me get up my next pictures here. Here's some pictures of us doing a cross-country clinic. And Lana loved to jump. Even though her feet must have hurt quite a bit from jumping, because her farrier at this time when I was doing this clinic was a natural barefoot farrier, and he was chopping her heels off. And I went through some really tough times with her. From the time she was really young, she was having problems, and I didn't know that they were I didn't know, because she was really stoic. And she would keep going. She was never lame until later in life, when she got to be, I was around, gosh, I think maybe like 2013 or so 10 years ago. So when she was about 16 is when that farrier that I had then really did a number on her. So she started to be off a little bit then, and then it got worse and worse, and then she was unrideable, which was really hard for me since we were so active and did so many things together. We got all ready for a parade. This is a parade that we were gonna do, and it got rained out. So I spent like 3 weeks getting her outfit ready for the parade, and we were rocker chicks, both of us. And then it rained. So we got all dressed up, and then we just said, well, we're going to do pictures if we can't do anything else. So my parents came to watch the parade, and then it got canceled. So they took pictures of us. So there we are. That was 2013 as well. I wasn't doing her feet then. I had no idea anything about, I knew nothing about the horse's foot until 2017. So that was when she was 18. And I'll tell you about that a little bit more. So I was told she had contracted heels from the time she was 5 years old. Nobody seemed to do anything about it. I didn't even really understand what contracted heels was. The farriers just said she has contracted heels. So just like most of you have been through, mysteries, unsolved, right? I thought the farriers were taking care of it. I had no idea they were the cause of it. I had no idea. There was nowhere for me to get information on this. So finally in 2017, I got in contact with Linda. I had a farrier that was studying under Linda, and she was mapping out Lana's feet and following Linda's earlier information. And then she died of lung cancer. And I had remembered the name. I'm like, okay, she said there was this lady, Linda Harris, that she was following. And so, I don't know, I just felt compelled to get a hold of Linda. So I messaged her on Facebook, and she didn't see my message till like 7 months later. And then she answered me back, and we've been fast friends ever since. And Linda gave Lana her life back. So we spent a couple of years there of basically on and off, very short riding, and then she'd be off and I couldn't ride her. And it was horrible. And I was learning how to do TACT. I had never trimmed a horse before, never picked up a farrier tool. Linda told me how to map her feet and get out there. So here I am figuring out how to use her protractor mapping method, and Lana would hold her feet up for approximately 5 seconds, and then she would slam them back down. So I had to figure out to have her stand on foam insulation to give her some padding, and get her something else to do with her mind. So get some good oats in front of her and a few other things. And I just started from absolute ground zero. But we didn't really know some key things for Lana's case until a few years later. We didn't understand about binding up the feet. So at first we were mapping to the dimensions and filing, but we weren't opening up the heel bulbs like we do now. So it wasn't really, it was, she got back sound again, and I was riding her, but I still had issues with her being a little bit off on that front right. And then she took a crash again because I, was binding up her feet because I was taking everything back in the toe, but I wasn't expanding the back of the foot. And then Linda figured that out on Valor and how to do that. In around 2020, I figured out how to start working on that. But I sucked at it for a couple of years. And we thought that the horse is supposed to have a frog stay between the heel bones, which they are. But we didn't realize that you can have a false frog stay as well. And then, so I thought, oh, this is great. Lana's got this flap between her heel bulbs, right? Well, no, she still wasn't expanding. Her heels were just like stuck together. And Linda was telling me to do these things better. She was saying, take off more sole, take off more quarters. And so I slowly improved my technique. But it still wasn't nearly as good as what Linda would do on Valor, first time trimmer. And I'm learning trial and error. And, she's not there in person, and she's way in Kansas. And just like you guys are, you're all over the world, and we're all out there by ourselves. And we don't know for sure if what we're doing is enough or too much, right? Till we get the feedback from the horse. So it was a lot of trial and error. Then I finally figured out how to start slicing in between the heel bulbs after Linda came up with that. Her final piece of the puzzle, I felt I like, okay, this is it. This is what we really needed to be waiting for. And I started working on that for a year before she passed away. So 2 years ago now, in the summer, midsummer, so coming up now in a couple months, it would be 2 years that I started figuring out how to do more for the back of her foot, and immediately started getting expansion. And that was the key. That was it. That was the summer 2022. And we really started coming back on. It was phenomenal. But before that, I took, let's see, it was 2 years ago now. I guess maybe it was 2022, the fall of 2020. Yeah, it was fall of 2022. I took her back out west again. This is where she loves to go the most, is out west. And that's her heart place. I'll show you this while she's walking. We're taking a trail ride here, into the trail ride. Beautiful day in Minnesota in the evening. My favorite place to go in town here is our local 1,000-acre county park that had a million monarchs flying all over the place. It was beautiful in the late summer where all the monarchs were heading together. So I thought I'd play that while I tell you the rest of her story. So this is when she was getting better again. She was phenomenal. We galloped on this trail ride. We would gallop all the time. Her and I really like to gallop. That's like my favorite thing to do. I like to ride English and get up off of her back and just float like I'm just floating on a cloud, and then off we go. It's my favorite thing to do. So we've galloped this trail countless times. This little trail in front of her is our usually our little last gallop of the trail ride. And of course I was filming, so we were walking, but usually we would pick up and trot or gallop this last little stretch because the grass is so awesome there and the footing's so awesome. So we like to ride the direction of the sun in the evenings so we could see the beautiful light coming through the grass. And there was a monarch that just flew in the screen there. So we had so much fun together. And Lana gave her life back. So, or Linda gave her life back. So I expanded, got everything going really good. And then we had the blizzard from hell the winter after this. So it was super, super blizzardy. We had probably, I don't know, like 7 major blizzards that winter. So we didn't get as much done on her feet because it was either 30 below zero or, really cold out, which doesn't motivate me very much. Or we had 2 feet of snow coming down and 40-mile-an-hour winds and worse winds than that. And all the way into April, we had lots of storms that year. Then, as soon as the snow melted, we were back at it again. I mean, not like I didn't trim her all winter. I mean, I trim them every few weeks all year round, and ride her all year round as well. Which reminds me of something I wanted to show you guys. I wanted you guys to hear her Winnie. One of the favorite things about her, for me, was her girly Winnie. She had this just prissy girl Winnie, which, I mean, it's just really marish, just really prim and proper, feminine energy Winnie. And I love it. So here it is. I'll play it for you guys. Stand up, Lana. Stand up. All you care about is where are those other ponies? Where could they be? Oh, no. You're here all alone. So, I just love her Winnie. So that's one thing I really miss about her. And we would come to this park like almost every Sunday with my friend Beth, and we just run all over this park. So it was just phenomenal. So it was so great that Linda and TACT gave her life back. She was able to run and have so much fun again and feel good for the last few years of her life. Whereas when she was 18, before I met Linda, it would have been really bad. I mean, she probably would have been in like super sore and some funky dumbass corrective shoes and not been able to be ridden, or had some stupid shoes with lift pads and all kinds of shit, which I tried on her when she was 6 and 7-ish, someone there, went through, farrier number 3, had the old corrective. She had egg bar shoes on at one time. She would lose them all the time. She would trip all the time. She tripped all the time because they always left her way too long. So here's a video of her from a couple years ago. And one thing that I really love about her is how she always liked to win any race that she was in. She likes to be first. And this is my other gelding I half own with a friend. And he's 8 years younger than her, and he's really fast. And he's the only horse I've ever seen that beats her. And she was getting older at that time, so he would repeatedly run faster than her in the pasture. But when she was younger, she would like never let anybody beat her, and we would race. So here she is coming in for treats after I rehabbed her from that time where she broke down in 2020. She would barely even walk once. It was very, very bound up feet. And because of Linda's most recent research of unbinding the back of the foot, this enabled Lana to have this little time. She's the one in the fly sheet. Hold on, make sure that my volume is loud enough. She's the one in the fly sheet in the video. So I'll point her out to you guys. This is because of TACT. So she's the first one. She has a fly sheet on. She's got the blaze on her face. Come get treats, buddy! You'll see when she rounds the corner what she does to get ahead of Jazz and win the race. It's pretty funny. She takes her little in and she goes for it, and she cuts right around on the inside. That's pretty funny. And look how sound she is. There she goes. I'm winning. I'm faster. And you'll see her downward transition to the trot is perfect. Not a lame step was taken. She's galloping in. Thanks to Linda. There she goes. Perfect downward transition. Hi. That's because of TACT. Right there. The last thing I wanted to show you guys was her triumphant return to going out west at 25 years old. So here she is at 25 years old. That was a year and a half ago. Last year and a half ago, September. So it was September of 2022. And this is back to where she was born, out in by the Badlands of North Dakota. And she's with my other gelding there, Jazz. And we took her back. We went out there for another 8 days, trail rode. And the train out there, we like to go sometimes off trail. And our friend told us to go. We were looking for an easy trail because Lana actually got injured on this trip. She actually, we came back from town and came back, and here she was practically unable to walk. And her front right shoulder was, well, we think it was in the front right shoulder. The vet diagnosed her over the phone, which was phenomenal. I got the name of a vet out there, and I called him to see if he could come out and look at her, and he couldn't, but he said it sounded like she had a radial nerve injury to her front right shoulder. And I think she got it caught in a piece of barbed wire down low in the corral, because out there it's like scary. We try to safety everything when we get out there and go around, but it's like a cow corral, right? So she pulled. I think she got her foot caught, and she pulled, and that made the sheath of the radial nerve really injured, and so she was like partially paralyzed in that leg and her front right shoulder. And here we are. It's Thursday night, and I'm supposed to be there till Tuesday riding, and I had one short ride on her, or no rides on her, I think, by then. And bam, here she was. So thank God for miracles, because she was back on it in only 3 days of rest. She rested the rest of Thursday, she rested all Friday, all Saturday, and I was back riding her Sunday. It was the most unbelievable thing ever. It was a miracle. So, it was such a gift to have her back out there. So we were looking for an easy place to ride. I wanted to be more on the flat. She, by this time, had developed a little bit of an issue with her front right knee due to too many years of tripping on it when she was younger, because the farriers always left her toes too long and screwed her up and caused her pain, which caused her breakover to be screwed up on that foot. And she would break over and collapse on that knee, and she did it so many times that she ended up having a calcium deposit on her right knee. So I was very concerned. She was sound and everything, but I was very concerned that she would not go on anything too difficult. So I asked my friend Heidi, who's lived out there for her whole lifetime. We're like, we want to go into Theodore Roosevelt Park and see the wild horses. What's an easy place to go in the park? She tells us, oh, go along the river, go on this trail here, and tells us where to go. Okay, great. This is going to be great. We're going to go on this fairly flat trail. Wrong. It was the hardest trail I've ever taken her on in her lifetime. She's coming off a radial nerve injury. She's 25 years old. She kicked her down. She kicked it down. That trail was so hard. It was super flat, and then bam, it would have a drop off of 10 feet or more, maybe 10 to 15 feet, where it would just be straight down to a riverbank. We have to cross a creek and then straight back up the other side. But to get down to the river creek, there'd be like a 2-foot ledge. So you'd go down 10 feet straight down, and the path was only wide enough for just an animal to fit through, because it's like dug through the hill, like a deer path, right? And you've got like a 3-foot ledge on either side where I could barely fit our feet. Like if we put our feet out to the side, we'd be hitting the side of the hill, right? So these paths are into the hill. And then at the bottom of that, there'd be like a 2-foot ledge where you have to jump down, then cross the river, jump back up on the other side, and then go straight back up. And then, so this was like probably 15, probably 15 of those we did. But I jumped off for a lot of them. I jumped off of her and I walked her up and down a lot of those little ledges and things, because I wanted to really be easy on her, obviously. But she did a lot of it with me on her too. We went up some of the hills because it was safer to canter up the hills and trot up the hills than it was for me to try to lead her up, because she could run over me. But all the downhill ones, most of the time I would jump off if they were too hard. But sometimes they weren't. Sometimes I was just laying on her butt and down we'd go. So I was so proud of her. She was just an amazing horse. Her favorite thing to do is to herd cows. And the first time we went out here to Medora, there was a herd of cows that were pasturing over here. And this side of the road is her pasture, right, starting here. And this is the road. And the first night we got there, she knew how to herd cows because that's what she did before she was sold to my trainer. And she herded all the cows like from across the road. She was running up and down the fence, whinnying at them and telling them to move for like 2 hours. Then back in 2005, the first time that we ever went out there. And we got to chase cows a few times for realsies out with our friends and gallop across the lands out there, which were riddled with cracks in the ground that you had to jump over while you're galloping, and ledges you had to go up and down that were real steep, uneven terrain, unlike Minnesota, which is pretty easy riding in general. So she just was the best all-around horse ever. She just loved it. So there she is in her triumphant return. We hadn't been there for many years because she was broken down, and I got divorced right at the time that she broke down the worst. So it was bad for like, I don't know how many years there. And then my friend Beth, who I went with every year, she moved to Arizona in 2013 and took her horse with her. So we just didn't get it all put together for like 10 years. We didn't go out there for 10 years. And I wanted to get her back there, and she went back there one time. We got back. We got back one time for a great 8 days before she passed away. So I'm just absolutely so thankful for TACT that I was able to rehab her back and get her so strong and have such a great trip on her. So here's one last little video of the last day that we rode out there. The horses were really tired because this was the day after we did the trail from hell in Theodore Roosevelt National Park. But we did get to see wild horses, which was really, really fun. Lana loves to see wild horses, and I found out later they were two young stallions. So that's probably why she was particularly interested in them. And so here's a quick little video of our ride that we went on the last day we rode them there. Got grass and prairie on the right, holly on the forward, and this is where we're headed, back to the truck, through that valley. Hi, Beth. Hi. So here we are, our last ride back at Medora, our heart place, and I just want to say how grateful I am to Linda because this would have never happened without you. I love you so much. I was unprepared for seeing her 4 feet sitting on your shelf a couple nights ago. But I'm super excited for you to see what's inside. I'm thinking she's about 30% still bound in the back because I didn't get to finish. And oh, I forgot to tell you as well that the spring after last year when she passed away, after that, it was real dry out, so everything shrunk back up again. So I think she's probably got like 30% of her hoof left to expand in the back and get wide and come out. So I'm interested to see what we have when we do our stuff. And I'm super excited. If you want to file her feet and trim them, that would be great. I would be honored to have you use them in a video and see them all perfect from Linda's trimming. That would be great. And she was definitely needing a trim at the time of her death because she got injured, and I could not do her 2 back legs, or well, all 4 feet. Anyway, it was a long thing, and so she's overdue for a trim. So I'm really excited for Linda to find out what she can find out for us, and hopefully we will confirm everything that she already knows, and it'll be really exciting to see her progress. I Linda's got a file on her, and she's got all the screenshots, hopefully, that I took. I took lots and lots of screenshots of before and afters of her being trimmed. And I have one from like at the very beginning when I first started TACT, and one, comparing to where she was. And Linda said she had some of those in her file. So I'll let her do the hoof part, and I'll just stick to the bio part. So thank you guys. I tried to make this short and it didn't work. So hopefully when you guys have time, you'll check it out. Thank you so much, everybody. Oh, it's my taskbar.